Thank you. I'm going to do the generalization. We're going to run through that quite quickly because I'm not going to read through all the activity maps in this module. Generalization is quite a big thing, and this is, parents often have questions about generalization. Things that really very often happen is our kids might go to school or to therapy sessions, and we hear about all these wonderful things that they do in their therapy sessions or even at school. And often for us as parents, that's difficult because we don't always see the same changes at home. Our child might be going to speech therapy and the speech therapist is telling us about all the words that he or she is saying in the speech therapy session, or going to OT and we hear about all the progress that my child is making, or things that they're doing at school, and we're sitting at home and thinking, what are we doing wrong? Because we're not seeing the same positive changes and progress at home. Now, there are things that we as parents can do to support our children in generalizing skills from one environment to another. And there are quite a few different aspects to this. One that it's not in the notes, but I do want to add that too, is if your child is going to different therapy sessions or doing, perhaps going to school, don't be afraid to check in with a teacher, check in with a therapist. We are allowed to do those things, and we should as parents. It doesn't have to be every day, but have a little communication book perhaps where you can just, the teacher or the therapist can write a little note for you whenever it's necessary, just mentioning what they've worked on, what your child did well at in school or in the therapy session, and you can then go and do those things at home as well. Ask your therapist, what are you working on in speech therapy at the moment? If it's a certain sound, you can go and reinforce that, support that, create opportunity to practice that at home as well. Those little things are all ways of generalizing the skill from one environment or one person to the home environment and everyday life as well. So if you look at the activities here in the handouts, there's a bubbling lava lamp, there's a catapult stick, some bubble paint, different examples there. And these are just activity maps. It's just fun activities, games that you can do, things to make and go and experiment with your child. And those things are, yes, it's an activity and there's a product at the end, but it's really not about the product. It's about everything that you're covering in between. If you look at those different activity maps, those different little games and things, you are working on communication skills, social skills, the interaction. You're doing fine motor skills, gross motor skills in most of them. You're going to work on academics, reading, perhaps writing, sharing ideas, planning, organizing, initiating conversations, and even parts of the activity. Those things are covered automatically, and that's a way of generalizing all those different skills to one activity, bringing it into one fun, interest-based activity, something that is going to be enjoyable for your child. They're definitely not going to know that they're working on fine motor and communication and all those things. They're just doing a fun activity with mom or dad or someone that they enjoy spending time with. But all these things are, we're generalizing skills at the same time. And I think I'm going to stop there. Otherwise, I can go on and on about any of these concepts, really. But Carla, if you want to address a question about generalization.
Sure. I actually have a personal story, and it's a little bit embarrassing, but I started lately with TikTok videos because, it's fun and I need to be hip. And I've realized that I'm doing it with my partner's two kids, and that how many concepts we're actually including just in terms of inhibition control, like, wait, we need to record this part first. And also, wait, we can't let the volcano explode already because we need to get it on tape. So the communication, inhibition control, self-regulation, all of those things are part of all of these activities. And if you want to be in with the crowd, you need to just make a TikTok video on it, because everyone is looking for sensory ideas. I would like to introduce, thank you so much, Nanette, for all of that. I would like to introduce somebody that's really dear to us, Dr. Sarai Paula. She is a medical doctor, and at the moment she doesn't practice as a doctor, and I'm sure she can speak more about that. But she is also a medical translator. She speaks in many different languages. She is a dear friend of us, and she was diagnosed with autism at a later age, but she's got a lot of influence in as an advocate, and also very amazing ideas and suggestions. And I know that you guys have been seeing her answers to the chat. So Sarai, can you please just start your video? And just the one question that I do have for you is, what do you wish that your parents knew? Because most of the people here, the participants here, are parents. So what do you wish your parents knew of you when you were a young child, an autistic young child?
So I didn't think about, I apologize for this, I didn't think about the lighting and all of this and the setup. So I hope you can all see me fine and you can hear me fine, right?
We can see.
Wonderful to be here. Reading some of the comments has been really enlightening to me, because it's made me think back to my own parents and what they had to struggle with. And to be perfectly honest, one of the biggest things that I think would have made a difference to my parents would have simply been knowing that there's a reason why their child is behaving like this. I'm not being naughty, I'm not being difficult. If somebody could have explained to them kindly and in a supportive way that, look, your child is a little bit different, and she's never really going to be 100% like other children, but that's okay. And that's exactly what I get from working with AIMS, because I've personally done the mentorship course. I've taken the mentorship course by AIMS. I cannot recommend it enough, because as an autistic person, I honestly, it took me so long to feel like, wow, there are all of these ways that I could have learned to handle my life when I was younger that would have made life so much easier now. I know a lot of you have spoken about things like organization and cleaning and arranging life. Just by sitting down and thinking through these things and being prompted to ask the right questions of myself, it had a big impact on the rest of my life. And I actually managed to carry a lot of the things over that I learned from the mentorship course into real life. So I'm based on what we've watched today and what I've seen from your answers and what Carla and Nanette have said, I can only recommend the possible parenting course, because I would have loved it if my parents had taught me mindfulness. I wish they had taught me to just sit quietly and be relaxed, because even today I'm still like, I get very agitated. Yes. So that's my view.
That's great. Thank you, Sarai. Thanks so much for all your input as well. I know that we received quite a few questions, and I would like to, because there are so many different ones, and to go back to them might be impossible. But if you have an urgent question, if you can just say Sarai or Carla or Nanette, or whoever you want to ask, really, and then we can go through those. There was one that I wanted to address. There's, I'm not going to say the name because I don't know if you want me to say the name, but there's somebody that said that she's got a class of autistic kids that she's going to teach. And she said that there are a lot of behaviors present. And I don't know how many people are in the class, how many individuals are in the class, but from my own perspective, when I was a teacher, it was very important to really assess every child individually and to see, okay, this child needs a sensory corner, this child needs to go out a little bit more. All of them need visual input, all of them need the visual schedules, they need the movement breaks and the sensory breaks in between. And also to know as a teacher or as a parent that there are always going to be goals that we need to work on. I am 37 years old, or I don't even know if that's the right age, but I still have so many goals that I need to work through. So if we can just also just encourage ourselves to take part in the concepts that we just discussed, the mindfulness, the sensory, the movement breaks, the asking for a break when you need it, or just taking a break if you need it. And then we can realize, okay, there are a million things that we need to teach our children. And we are constantly hearing from reports, and I know that when I speak to parents, it's horrible to go through the reports sometimes that you receive from pediatricians. But for a moment, look at somebody like Sarai and see that, there are a lot of struggles that your kid is going to go through and that you're going to go through. But it's not a race, it's a journey, and you're on it with your child. And I truly believe that each person is going to reach their optimum level if we can also just work with our kids and their interest.
Can I add something to that teacher question quickly? I think starting out in a new year with a new class, it's quite daunting for any teacher really to stand in front of a class, regardless of how big or how small the class is, really. But if we think of our children going into that class with a new teacher, perhaps, or even if you've had some of the kids before, it's also a big thing for them. And for any child, really, there is safety and security if they know what to expect. So Carla mentioned the visual schedule. That is something that would be really important from day one. When you start as a teacher with a new class, and if you've got a class with autistic kids especially, you want to make sure that you've got that visual schedule and the structure so that they know what to expect during their day or during a class, whatever the case may be. And then refer to your schedule. Don't just have it up on the board and think that the kids might refer to it themselves. Teach them how to read the schedule. Show them on the schedule, okay, we're done with snack time, we're going to do outside play now. Go back to the schedule every time so that you show them how to read it and show them and teach them what to expect as well. That's already going to make a big difference, starting a new year especially. Mm-hmm. Sorry.
No, that's great. And there was a question for Sarai, and then there's a question for me directly, but if you can just repost that question. Sorry, there's been quite a few. The one question from Chanel, I'm pretty sure I can say your name because it is in the general chat. It said, Dr. Sarai, what is something that you wish your parents knew from an autistic perspective? I have 4 kids and 2 are autistic. They attend an inclusive school with their peers. I feel something I fall short for doing more of them for them. Sorry. I think yeah.
Yes, I can jump in here. First of all, I actually wrote a comment because somebody had asked sort of a similar, or had made a similar comment that there is, there's a lot that needs to be done for autistic children. Or I think a lot of autistic parents definitely express the perspective that they feel like they have to do a lot more than perhaps some other parents do. From my perspective, I think that all of you who are here this morning, who made the time to attend the session and who are interested in learning what AIMS Global has to do, you guys are the greatest parents ever. The fact that you're taking time out of your personal schedule to empower yourselves, learn more, find out how to, and coming to experts like Carla and Nanette and asking them, working with Regina as well. I mean, all of them are here to help you to deal with this better. So just the fact that you're doing this and the fact that you're here, you're awesome, right? You've already done way more than most parents on earth. But what do I wish my parents had known about being autistic? The fact that things feel different to me. One of the things that I remember my dad always used to say, I don't understand how you can say that you have a headache. I don't know what a headache feels like. And even thinking about it makes me feel so frustrated because I'm like, but just because you feel it doesn't mean I don't feel it. And as an adult, I must say, even now, I definitely notice that when I say something is loud or uncomfortable, or I say something is too bright, or, I express that I'm having a sensory issue, there definitely a 30% of people will accept what I've said and believe me outright. The other 70% will question what I'm saying, doubt me, and just generally be unpleasant about it. So I feel like from the rest of the world, I can tolerate that, but I wish that I would have gotten that level of understanding from my own family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's important. That's a good answer. And like it does feel differently, and you see things differently and experience things more intently, most probably. there was a question, and it was about speech. I can't find the exact question, but I know that there were a series of questions that were quite similar, and it kind of leads from young kids to older kids. So also from verbal to, or pre-verbal to verbal kids. And it is how to increase communication. So if a child is, for example, so I'll go through like just 3 scenarios, and then we might have to move on to our next slide. But just to give you a bit of input on increasing communication. So we've dealt, we managed to go through like working on their interest, and then we need to focus on how do we increase a child's communication, first of all, if they're pre-verbal, so if they're not speaking at all. And that would include a lot of pairing. So it will include where you are, first of all, engaging again with their interests that they like, so activities that they really thoroughly enjoy, and just pairing sounds together with that activity. So you can be like, let's say it's bubble, bop, 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 bop. And then from that, you can pair and you can chain 2 sounds together, bubble, bubble, bubble. And you're not expecting your child to repeat the sound, which is important. You're just pairing a fun activity with a sound so that you're increasing that expressive language. So that's just one of the various options and strategies that Nanette goes through in the intensive parenting course. The other scenario is if your child's already speaking, how do you increase from sounds to words, or from words to sentences? And that would include again engaging in a fun activity. I know we had a comment that said, my child really likes jumping on the trampoline, and that would be an excellent way of increasing communication. So you can say up, 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 more up, 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 my turn, your turn, like squishing on the trampoline, or like bubbles on the trampoline. Even you're just increasing the amount of fun times that you're having, and pairing that with verbalization, so with some sounds, words, and then sentences. Also, if you're thinking about the sensory and the movement breaks, you can ask your children to give you longer sentences. And then if it is an echolalic child, I know that was a question. That was one of my first kids that I ever worked with, was echolalic. So she used to repeat everything I said, and she speaks a lot now. She talks to me every day. She's 19 years old, and 20, sorry. And how we increased her spontaneous language is I would say something and I would wait for her to fill in the blanks. So she really likes singing. Unfortunately, my singing voice is not the best, but she didn't care, luckily. So we would sing a song like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little, and then wait for her to say star, and then twinkle, twinkle, and then she would say little star, twinkle, twinkle, little star. And that became a spontaneous kind of a dance, because she realized that I say something, she says something differently. And that was the real start of conversation with us now. We are now at the point where I need to ask her, okay, can you just wait for a second? I want to say something now. So it really does work. You just have to, there are obviously a few other strategies that we can share with you, but I don't think we have the time really now. But yes, I think there are some brilliant questions. And what I do want to do, Nanette, is to maybe even schedule, and please, Sarai, if you can be part of it as well, is to schedule another live, but maybe just with Q&As, because I feel like that is very, very important. So Nanette, if you want to just go through to the last slide, because I don't want to keep people on here for too long. So what else do we offer? We did speak about the intensive parenting course, and because you offered your time for us, we want to make it as affordable as possible. We do want to, as much as possible, make everything that we do affordable, and sustainable. And that's the thing, is we want to empower parents so that you don't have to do 40 hours of therapy for the rest of your lives, and that is unsustainable for your child and for you. So we want to teach parents how to do all these things themselves. And if you have some help, great, because they should do this course as well. It is a full, comprehensive, intensive parenting course, similar to the strategies that Nanette was going through, but it's in a lot more detail with many, many more templates that you can print. It's a full comprehensive manual that you receive, and you can do a free check-in course. So that's what I was speaking about now. Maybe we should do just the check-in call where it's just Q&As. And I feel like if we do it in groups, it might even be better, because then we can learn from each other, which is always the best. And we also want to give you free access to our Creating the Perfect Environment course, which is usually usually $99. So what we want to do with this is we're going to keep this open for 24 hours, just so that we want to make sure that it's only these participants, like you guys, that get this deal. And the Creating the Perfect Environment is really to set you up for success in the home environment. So it's going to teach you exactly what to include in those visual schedules, in the sensory corners, and lots of other things, like using a low arousal tone, which I've realized that makes a massive difference. Just having kids in the house over the holidays, low arousal tone and just the calming music made my life heaven. And whenever I forgot to do it, it was a disaster. So there was quite an extreme going on during the December holidays. There are some other questions as well, but I don't know if we are going to have time for all of this. What I do think is, if you want to do the course, we will send you a link to it. Regine, I don't know if you can send a link in the chat box, and then perhaps we can even email the link as well. We also want to give you the opportunity to have this recording, so we will be sending that to you as well. So if there's anything that you might have missed, or you went to do your movement break, you have some time to go over that now. And I hope that we see you after you've done the course. So we will be scheduling the live Q&A, which will be an hour long, and it will only be us, everyone that's completed the course, to speak with myself, Sarai, and Nanette. And we can go through each one of your examples a little bit more in depth. Sorry, we tried to get to as many questions as possible, but I was getting a bit overwhelmed, so I need a sensory break soon. I don't know if there's anything else from you, Nanette, or from Sarai or Regine, that you guys wanted to cover.
Not from me, just thank you very much for joining, and thank you, Dr. Sarai, as well. We really value your input and your time. Thank you for being here.